Hello everyone, for Channel 6 TV, Community Focus, I'm Dennis George, and today we're at Springview Hospital where they've received yet another award, and Tim, I'm going to let you explain it, the administrator here at the hospital. Explain the award and just talk about it a little bit.
Thank you, Dennis. About 3 weeks ago, I got a call from the Lincoln Trail Health District recognizing our hospital for having performed screening mammograms on more Medicaid women than any other county in our state in 2015. And this was a very significant award for us because, one, our mission is making communities healthier. And to be able to perform these screens and identify early potential issues is an important thing. But in addition to that, our team here really put a lot of work in the last year at refining everything from our scheduling process to our reminder card process to make it easy and convenient for people to get in here and get screened.
Okay, so someone as an outsider, and when you talk about Medicaid patients and getting a higher percentage of those in, is that a way of targeting maybe those who are at risk but may not be aware of the things that they need to do? Is that kind of where that would come in?
Exactly, Dennis. And with the recent expansion of Medicaid in our state, the ability for these folks to now be enrolled in Medicaid and have access to these screens is a relatively new thing. So we want to make sure we're making it easy for these folks to get the screenings that are now available to them done and identify issues potentially earlier than before.
But again, when you talk about the hospital's mission and some of the things that you have done over the last few years in trying to bolster the image in the community, something like this has to make you feel good. It has to make your people feel good about the direction of the hospital.
Absolutely. I mean, it's right up there in the category of the right thing to do. And we have a highly committed group of folks who you'll get to visit with more later, and you'll see that firsthand.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, we have the machine here, and you kept wanting me to get tested, but I don't think I would qualify. But talk about that machine and what it costs to have a machine like that to run these tests. Because when people complain about cost at a hospital, you got to pay for that machine some way or another. Just kind of talk about that.
Yes, sir.
If you would.
This machine, and help me out, Nathan, I'm about $200,000 to $250,000. The big jump in imaging technology, and a great way to think about it for those who remember, going from a film camera to now a digital camera. This is a digital mammography machine, much like your digital cameras. So those images are transmitted digitally and interpreted far more easily than what we've seen historically.
Okay, see, I'm an old guy who was much better with a film camera than I am with a digital camera, and I remember the days of processing my own film and doing that. But this one, it pops up just like that then.
Exactly.
Okay. Nathan Bennett, Director of Radiology and Registration. Tim tells me that you have kind of made shortcuts and made it easier and reminding people that it's time to come in. You want to talk about that for a bit, if you would?
Sure. We looked at the process, and it was already a really good process, but anything we could do to make it easier for the ladies to come back in, even the gentlemen to get their mammographies, it was all about ease of patient. So a lot of times for a patient to remember a year from now that they've got another appointment is very tedious for them. We're all very busy now. So we have created a different process where they come in, they fill out their card, and they get that card sent to them about a month out from that annual term to come back around. So it's got really a whole lot easier from that and a scheduling perspective. We looked at both sides of it. How can we get you in here faster? How can we make it easier to remind you? So just to make it easier on the patients to get back in.
Now, do you do phone calls as well, or emails, or I guess as times change,
we always
all the
call
ways to notify also changes. So talk about some of that a little bit.
Yeah, we always confirm with patients. We call them usually 3 to 4 days out. They get multiple calls. We're talking about insurance. We're trying to make sure all of our ducks are in a row before they get here. That way they transition through the process very smoothly and can get back out and get back to a normal day.
All right. talk about what people need to do. If they're not on your list and they're not getting a phone call and they're not getting the emails, and I know when people visit their doctors at times they will remind them, this is your year, but for maybe those who are out of the loop and maybe not aware that at certain times they need to have these exams, talk about the procedure that they need to go through and how often they need to have these tests done.
Well, they should be done annually. If you're in that period as a woman, then you should be getting these done annually. Obviously, if you feel any deformities from one side or the other, anything that alarms you, you need to see your primary care physician about that. He can actually order a mammogram, but in the state of Kentucky, you can actually come in what they call a self-referral. So you come in and say, I need a screening mammogram because I meet the criteria, and you don't even have a physician's order, and you come in and get taken care of.
All right.
Dennis, I would say mammography is one of the very few things that we do back here in imaging that does not require a physician referral.
So if someone thinks they have a problem, they can do it on their own and come in.
They can call and schedule. Every other type of imaging modality, X-ray, ultrasound, CT scan, the physician has to refer it.
Okay, and I guess most people are used to just going to their doctor on a yearly or semi-annually basis, but if they do feel, I guess that the urge would be that if I feel something, I go straight to my doctor. But in this case, they can, and may not be able to get in quickly enough, and they can schedule appointments through you.
If you haven't had that screening mammogram in that year, then you're definitely open to go in and get that screening mammogram.
All right. Tim, and before we close, you mentioned that when we think of mammograms and breast cancer, we think primarily of women. But you were telling me earlier that that's not exactly the case.
The last data that I've reviewed, it showed that breast cancer exists in about 6% of breast cancer patients are male, which is interesting. And maybe the folks following will have better information about that. Okay. But yeah, it is not something unique and exclusive to women.
So men as well need to be aware.
Yes, sir.
And
absolutely.
You said in support groups that you even have men kind of come in?
They're positive for breast cancer, and they participate as well.
Okay. We've talked to the administrator. We've talked to the man who does the scheduling. When we come back, we'll have the people who actually do the work on the ground here at Springview Hospital.